Hey everyone. Oh, hello. Hey everyone. Tommy Caldwell here. I just want to thank everybody here for joining us for the 50th anniversary of Earth Day. I can't believe it's actually number 50. I'm Tommy Caldwell.
I'm Jeremy Jones.
And yeah, we're super excited. We're going to be doing this for the next 7 weeks, every Tuesday and Thursday. POW has put together an incredible lineup of diverse speakers to help you to educate everyone. So yeah, you should come and join us every Tuesday and Thursday. So leading up to this chat, I know POW has been talking a little bit about this idea of the outdoor state, and today we're going to dive deeply into that, and I want to share with you all what it means to be part of the outdoor state. Yeah, so Jeremy, it only seems right to ask you. So you're the founder of POW. How did you get going on this? How did this get started?
Yeah, so I was seeing changes to the mountains. It coincided with what the scientists were telling me, or were telling us, and I just felt like as a community, we weren't doing anything really. And like man, I should start a nonprofit. That sounds like a lot of fun. It was more just like I felt like I could get this thing started. I knew the media from being in snowboarding a bunch. I knew the film companies. I knew a bunch of industry people, and I was like, I knew, or I'm just gonna try to get this thing off the ground. At 2 years, I couldn't believe it. I found a lawyer who supported him, designers, and so there's smart skiers, snowboarders, climbers out there, and really just rallied together. And it was definitely a group effort, or it definitely wouldn't be where it is today, or even gotten off the ground.
Cool. Yeah, no, it's definitely an incredible team that you've brought together. I've always been so impressed with POW and how they punch way above their weights. And I love this idea of the outdoor state. I mean, I think for a lot of us, it was so hard to quantify for so many years, like what our difference could be as an individual climber, skier, or outdoor person. But the idea that if we band together, all the climbers and skiers, and that's 50 million of us, bigger than the biggest state. That's a lot of power. And yeah, this new campaign is really, really cool in that way. Last week we were talking, and you told me a little bit about this new film that you're putting together called Purple Mountain. Yeah, you want to tell me a little bit about that?
Purple Mountains is a film focused on I've been working on climate for a long time, and the reality is we're more divided than we've ever been on climate change. And so it's really my journey to understand how we could be this divided on basically clean air, clean water, and a sustainable planet for future generations. And it's been scary a little bit. I've had to get out of my comfort zone, how to get out of my kind of bubble. Been hanging out with, at these kind of, I guess, Trump bars. I went snowboarding with a minor, and just really understanding these people with different points of views, and at least seeing and having, there's a lot of things we agree on, and there's definitely some things we don't agree on. But I do think that, the conversation online is super toxic, and in person, it's, a little bit different. And we're all Americans. We all love this country, and just try to understand how ideally we can get on the same page as for climate action.
Have you found it hard to talk? I mean, talk to climate deniers, for instance. Like, I mean, has that been a big part of it? Like, when you get together, has it actually been like quite like fun and easy? Do you guys bond over outdoor sports in the same way that you wanted to?
I'd say there's been beer helps. It's kind of like, hey, you like beer, I like beer. Okay, we got that, and then we move on to that, and I'm like, and it on my end, and but for example, this miner, this guy Danny outside of Elko, which is a big part of the film, he's a super nice guy. He grew up there, very good snowboarder, and I met him at Trailhead, and kind of I'm like, I need to talk more to you, and he, his back of his truck had a keep talking sticker and of coal sticker, and so he's a perfect candidate. And what's amazing to me is I've learned a lot about mining is it's incredibly science intensive. It's super dangerous what they're doing, and they're going 800 feet down in these holes, and there's a lot of complex stuff. And I ended up meeting a engineer also on that, and really just bringing it back to science and going, look, you guys really rely on science, and we all agree they do. And so it's really about your life depends on science at your everyday job, and then that science is coming from the same university, from the scientists that are telling us that climate's a big problem. So finding that how they can discredit science in one manner and really rely on another manner is really the discussions that I've been having.
Yeah, I love the idea of this film, by the way. I mean, I get little pieces of it at like my family holidays with my dad. He's probably he'd be the kind of guy that you'd maybe meet in a Trump bar at times. And it's been a really interesting journey trying to come to common ground and figuring out what you can agree upon. And I actually enjoy the kind of banter and dialogue quite a bit. I mean, a lot of people feel a little bit allergic to that, but I think it can be seen in a really healthy way. So your idea behind this film, I think, is actually rather brilliant, and I can't wait to see it.
I think like I've spent a ton of time in rural areas, especially in Alaska. And I love these rural areas. I love the farmers and the hunters and stuff. Like, we've always been able to find a lot of common ground, and sadly, climate has been turned into this toxic topic. And it's like, we all do love the outdoors, and especially we really all rely on snow for the water that it brings so much of the West.
Yeah, and that's kind of the idea behind POW, right? It's supposed to transcend politics. We're brought together through our love of the outdoors and sport and these lands, and that's not about politics. It's not partisan at all. So yeah.
Well, thanks for being a part of it, and yeah, definitely. Like, it's sad that it's turned into a political issue, but that's not our intention at all. And it's founded on the belief of climate shouldn't be a partisan issue, and we are a bipartisan group focused on getting climate leaders in office, and we hope that that we have more options than we have right now.
Yeah, amazing. Cool. Well,
how you doing, Jeremy Jones here. How you doing, Jeremy Jones here, professional snowboarder. How you doing, Jeremy Jones here. How you doing, Jeremy Jones here, professional snowboarder, father, business owner, and founder of Protect Our Wings. Wow. A really important project that I've been working on for over a year now, and I need your help getting it over the finish line. It's a film called Purple Mountains, and it's about my journey to understand why people, despite overwhelming evidence, still dispute the facts of climate change. The New York Times recently reported that climate change is the most divisive issue in the United States, even more than guns. 78% Democrats believe it's a major issue, but less than 25% Republicans do. At the same time, an overwhelming majority of Americans said dealing with climate change should be a top priority for the President and Congress. Those facts stay with me every time I head into the mountains. With so many people recognize that climate change is the biggest issue facing our nation, why don't we agree at the ballot box? For Purple Mountains, I'll hit the road to key mountain swing states and connect with locals from every political background. We'll talk, listen, share perspectives and some turns, and ideally find common ground around clean air, clean water, and a healthy planet. I'm ready to meet everyone, from trolls to fans, champions to deniers. We'll enjoy the mountains together and hopefully move past our differences and learn from one another. Collective change is only possible when we all pitch in. Please give whatever you can to help make this project happen. The country needs it, the planet needs it, and most importantly, future generations need it. Let's make this film together. Yeah, so disclaimer on Purple Mountains, that was originally intended to be this Kickstarter video because it's been a tough film to fund, because as soon as you mention the word politics, it's obviously, again, it's a toxic issue, sadly. And so we've struggled with funding on it, and we're considering doing, for the first time ever, a Kickstarter. And then COVID hit, and we definitely, that's on pause. We are in production on Purple Mountains. We will get it over the finish line. And, the reality is these films are always challenging to fund, but we've definitely hit pause on that. But that's what that was a Kickstarter deal. And yeah, I guess switching topics, Tommy, as that was, I'd say one area we really do agree on is public lands. The hunters like to hunt on them. The people like to fish on them. You like to climb on them. I like to snowboard on them. And that's really what led to this CORE Act in Colorado that I know you've been instrumental in.
Yeah. The CORE Act is a giant bill that's going to protect 100, I forget how many acres, but huge swaths of some of the most beautiful terrain in Colorado. And there's lots of, outdoor recreation opportunities on that land. But the main thing that I'm focused on is if we make that land, if we designate it as wilderness, it takes us off the table for fossil fuel development. So it's really good. It's really good for that. But I've been a climber my entire life, and I think that has given me this pretty intimate relationship with nature, and I've started to notice the impacts of climate change in some of the places that I go to, most notably probably Yosemite National Park. When I was a small kid there, the valley was a pretty dense forest. You'd go there and you're in deep trees, and just in the past probably 8 years, beetle kill has really killed most, or I don't know, maybe 40% of the pine trees in Yosemite Valley. And then to the west of Yosemite, there's been massive fires that have kind of burned everything. And so I've seen that kind of thing going down. Also going to places like Patagonia, Argentina, the glaciers are receding and breaking up, and the place is changing. There's lots of rockfall hazard. The mountains used to be frozen together a lot more there. Now, whenever warm weather comes in, the mountains kind of thaw out and people die. And so when you're there in these places and you go back every year and you see these changes happening so fast, it makes you really care about, trying to figure out what is going on. Sometimes you don't notice things are really unhealthy unless you really love them, like we do climbing. And so, or like I do climbing, same reason you started, pal. Um, so I've done a lot of trying to wrap my mind around how to make a difference in that way. And climate advocacy has become a really big part of my life. And when I was first asked by, the staff at POW to join when you started POW Climb, I was hesitant, honestly. I didn't know if this was the most effective way. But then I went to a training and I got to meet everybody there. There's also a great presentation by a NOAA climate scientist. And I started to understand that amplifying our voices and getting people out to vote is really probably the only thing that we can do fast enough to kind of solve these major issues. And then I also really love the fact that it wasn't partisan. Like we've been talking about a lot. Climate change should not be a partisan issue. And I've done one POW lobby day in DC, and it was pretty cool to see that it wasn't just a group of Democrats there. There was a handful of Republicans, and going to DC and talking about climate change as a Republican is probably the most powerful thing you can do. So, that I feel like that was really cool to go to DC and transcend sort of the norms, because DC itself is very partisan these days, and they expect us to come as a climate change group and really only see one side of it, but we don't. We come as a group of outdoor lovers, and I really loved that about POW, and so I've been kind of upping the ante and getting more and more involved and agreeing to do more, and sort of like building this family around this organization that is really, I feel like, amplifying the voice of the outdoor community in a really, really incredible way.
I think.
So, yeah, and I found it.
Sorry,
Go
I think that what we do learn in DC, as you saw, like we really spend time, meeting with Republicans and Democrats, actually more Republicans than Democrats, and it's always interesting because there's things we can agree on. We can agree that being outside is this awesome place, and that's why I'm excited about this outdoor state, because collectively we are 50 million strong, and it's and I do think there's some certain things we don't agree on, but we do agree getting outdoors is good for you. So many of us it's like an integral part of our life, and I guess we're just trying to get everyone rallied around to try to protect these playgrounds.
Yeah, and quantifying it as 50 million not only makes each individual feel like we have a voice together, but big politicians like big numbers. So when we can quantify it that way, they're like, wow, we should listen. And I have noticed, I've been to DC on one POW lobby day, but I've been 3 times for an event called Climb the Hill that the American Alpine Club and the Access Fund put together. And it used to be that climate change was like a very one-sided issue, but now I think even the people who were, kind of historically less willing to vote for climate issues, at least they're listening now. They're like, we got to figure out a strategy. Like, there's enough people that believe in this and that are talking about this that we're not going to get voted in if we don't have a solid strategy. And that has been, really uplifting to see that change to me.
Definitely.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it looks like we got a question in here, Tommy, from, I'm not sure who it's from, but does POW engage at all with resorts and how to reduce impact? It strikes me as a former patroller how much energy goes into resort culture in particular, especially in the Northeast. Yeah, we definitely work with resorts, and we have a resort alliance. Our big challenge, one thing that we are seeing this natural trend is like my home resort, it's now gets the majority of their energy off of a solar array that's about an hour away from the resort, 9 acres. But where we are trying to get resorts to really be effective, of course, it's reducing their footprint is super important, and it's good for business, and resorts see that, and there's a lot of great stuff going on that. But it's all, these resorts are huge employers, and so they carry a lot of weight with elected officials. And so trying to get resorts to come together and say, look, we we represent X amount of jobs, and we need climate action for our business to be around for a while. And sadly, we've seen some resorts close down. And when that happens, I mean, it's the effects are far greater than just lifties and ski instructors. And it's really like a, it's like a, the equivalent of a coal mine closing is what I'll say to certain Republicans. Like, look, man, we have no snow. I mean, come through our town right now. It is devastating when we can't spin the lifts. So hopefully we are seeing some improvements from the resorts, and hopefully that trend continues.
Nice. That's a great question. Yeah, I mean, I think all of our, just living on Earth and breathing air, causes impact. And so the way to solve these problems is to really like analyze how that impact is dispersed and minimized. And climbers are exactly the same way. We do tons of driving and airplane travel to get to these places. But I've been really encouraged in places like Boulder, Colorado, where there's more climbers per capita than anywhere. This culture of advocacy has really like kind of swooped in there, and I feel like the crags themselves are in better shape now than they were a decade ago because of that, because of organizations like the the Boulder climbing community or whatever that like builds trails. And yeah, I'm pretty encouraged that our culture of outdoor lovers is really like what we're talking about is working, and we're making less impact.
Definitely. I think it's there's a lot at stake right now, and we are in a all hands on deck moment. And I think largely people are heeding that call, and so hopefully we continue that trend. Because sadly, the words I've never heard a scientist say is the issue's not as bad as we thought it was, and so that's just the reality of it. But I guess my optimism on that comes with, unlike this, where we are with this pandemic, with COVID, where, we are in this great unknown. We don't have a cure. We don't have solutions. We're trying to figure out how to, ideally open back up. But, the thing with climate is we do understand the issue. We've had a lot of scientists. We've had, a ton of scientists working on it. And we understand much of the solutions. And the exciting part is the solutions are jobs creators. And, that's where my greatest optimism comes.
Yeah, when COVID first hit, I was a little bit cautious about talking about climate change, just because I was like, it all feels so heavy right now. I don't know if I want to go down this path, but I've kind of changed that a little bit, because I've noticed this culture of like empathy, and people are willing to sacrifice for the greater good, because a lot of people are dying. It's right here, right now. It's visceral, and that mentality. If we can change the world so quickly to, protect the people that could die from COVID, we certainly should be able to do it for climate change, since we have more time, I suppose, hopefully more time. I don't know. I tend to be sometimes an unrealistic optimist, but I do think there's lessons that can be learned. And it sure is nice to know that the canals in Venice are clear for the first time in 100 years, and the air above New York City is clear. Hopefully people see that and get addicted to it.
Yeah, it's like you give nature an opportunity to heal, and it happens fast. There's a parking lot in Reno that it's like been vacant for not that long. I mean, I remember when we used to park there, and now it's a field of grass, and it's like it all sprouted up through this parking lot. And so yeah, that I hopefully people get addicted to that clean air, And and hopefully people understand. I think at least in the US we've been on this trend of like, discredit the experts and discredit science because we don't like what what they're telling us. And I hope that we at least come out of this with a new respect for science and experts, because I just feel like, not discrediting science and trying to like not listen to experts and scientists is just it's a slippery slope. And in my world, I think about it in the mountains. Like my world, my life is like so revolves around snow science. And I wouldn't be here today if it wasn't for snow science. So and same with you, with your camps. I mean, those things I've seen the engineering of those and the testing and stuff. And it's just yet another example of like, you stake your life on science daily.
Yeah, and the ability to stay alive in dangerous mountain environments is really about, analyzing that environment, and drawing, using the scientific method basically to figure out what's going to keep you alive. So it makes sense that once you're used to doing that for your sport, you're going to think about that sort of on a global scale. Let's see here. Let's take another question here. So somebody asked, I personally find myself overwhelmed by politics and keeping track of representatives and candidates. Have you, or would you consider putting together a national and local voter guide to help environmentally minded folks navigate issues and elections? So luckily, people have thought of this. POW Action Fund is creating a voter guide for this fall. So just go to POW. They got it sorted for you.
Nice. Well,
Yes.
I will. I'll take another question. This is from Marina. How can we talk to each other in a way that won't cut off people with different political opinions? We need to find the common ground before we judge. Well, that is the journey that I am currently on with this film, Purple Mountains. And I think that it starts with like, what do you agree on? And you're allowed to disagree on things, but once things get to hate speech and things of that nature, it's just I've personally had to learn empathy and understanding from where people are coming from. And I like to seek out confrontation. It's probably a weakness that I have, but I always, in the back of my head, I always say you can't beat hate with hate or darkness with darkness. It requires light.
Yeah, I love that. Yeah, I know, like I even hate being labeled a Democrat in some ways. Like I grew up with this sort of like not wanting to pay attention to the rules, like going to Yosemite and running from the Rangers. And, in some ways I'm like, I want less regulation. And so you find those kind of things, you're like, yeah, I totally agree with that. Like, on this way, we don't want to be told what to do. But on the other hand, to solve these major global issues, it kind of takes coming together and everybody working in the same direction. So
I couldn't agree more.
Great question.
On that front.
Yeah. So we're kind of already a little bit over time. I guess I should start thinking about closing it up here. So I guess, first of all, I just want to thank everybody for tuning in. Remember, this is just the beginning. Tomorrow, you can get online here with Sasha DeJulian and Caroline Gleich, two of the most probably hard-hitting activists and, passionate and effective, really kind of these amazing women in every way. They're going to be doing a talk tomorrow. Just happy Earth Day to everyone. Number 50. I don't think we're going to forget this Earth Day anytime soon. And I think to get on this call today, everybody had to actually join the Outdoor State. So thank you for that. And we will see you at the polls this fall.
And 10 of your friends.
Right on.
And
thank you, Jeremy.
And we do need to just recognize that it is the 50-year anniversary of Earth Day for a second and celebrate that. And I don't know, what about you, Tommy? Are you on this day, have you been able to like get a slice of Mother Nature today and to celebrate?
Yeah, I mean, I'm pretty lucky. I actually live up on a mountain, so just like going out in my in a low density population area. I mean, I wonder if you can see this. Like that's the view out the front of my house. So I kind of feel like I'm in nature all the time. So I feel like super, super lucky. Which makes my heart go out to the people in like New York City, for instance, that are, don't even get to see natural light. I have the most empathy in the world, but doing what you can to get outside and like appreciate and relish. I think in some ways, like, you have to get something taken away from you to understand how much you actually love it. And the fact that I can't go out and experience nature the same way that I have for my whole life right now makes me value it that much more.
I couldn't agree more. And what I've learned is at certain times in my life, I'm really busy on the business front, and a lot of time, and like right now, for example, now's the season when I generally am doing these long like camping missions into the mountains, and I'm selfishly like, man, I miss my tent, miss that. But so like for me, just like sleeping in my backyard last night under a meteor shower, it's like this simple stuff. And then I woke up to a beautiful sunrise and was just walking around looking at my trees in my backyard, and they were like dripping with dew, and just had this beautiful, and the birds just seemed louder than normal. And it's like I'm basically like 10 to 40 feet from my house, just having this deep nature experience. And so I think what I'm most psyched about is like personally is that my need to have this incredible experience continues to get less and less. And my ultimate goal is to get to the Eckhart Tolle level. I don't know if anyone's ever read The Power of Now, but it opens with him sitting on a park bench, and he's basically like at the equivalent of the like Himalayan first ascent and perfect POW, but he's getting that on a park bench in the middle of a city. Today I definitely had some really powerful experience in very simple nature. And I hope I continue to be able to appreciate that more and more and get more out of that as I get older.
Yeah, no, I do feel we're all going to learn stuff through this. This is our time to work on our minds and our families and the things we can do at home. And that'll just make it so much more sweet when we get back out there.
Hallelujah.
So, right on. Awesome. Well, thank you. Thanks again. I think we got a closer slide about tomorrow's events. And yeah, thanks for everybody.
Happy Earth Day, everyone.
Out. Good to see you, Jeremy.
Best of luck. Be safe.
Yeah, happy Earth Day.